put your hands together for Linda Ikechukwu. I know a lot of us actually
Please put your hands together for Linda. And I honestly think that Linda is one of the best people to give a talk like this because she has transitioned like in like different tech career paths. So it would be nice to hear what it's like. And if you are somebody trying to transition into tech or from one career path to another within tech, I think that this talk is worth listening to. So please, a round of applause for Linda Ikechukwu as she comes. And a round of applause for Linda.
Hi. We're having a bit of technical problems. My slide won't come up, and I have 15 minutes, and I don't want to waste it. Initially, I didn't plan on using slides, so honestly, it's fine, because I wanted this to be a bit interactive and kind of just share my story. And I was hoping that my talk was going to happen in like a breakout room, so it would be more personal, and people get to ask me questions and I can answer, but yeah. Anyway, hi. My name is Linda Ikechukwu, and I'm a developer advocate at Small Step Labs. Before being a developer advocate, I was a cloud engineer at Huawei. From there, I went on to become a front-end engineer. I took a job as a front-end engineer. After that, I took up another job as a technical writer, and then I took up a job as a developer advocate. So kind of I've changed titles 4 times now, yeah. So I've done a lot of transitioning, and if I say so myself, I have a lot of transitioning experience, which is what I'm here to talk about. Somebody keeps on calling me, sorry. Please drop me my mic, man. Thank you. Sorry about that. So this talk is for you if you're trying to transition or you're new in tech and you're wondering, where do I start from? What if I get into a role and 1 year in I discover that it's not for me or I don't enjoy this? This talk is for you. And my advice to people if you're trying to make a transition is to first of all get comfortable with change because change isn't easy. Navigating or changing careers is never going to be a walk in the park. So get comfortable. And most people delay on like pursuing a particular career path because the idea is that, okay, what if I do this thing and I end up finding out that I don't enjoy it? And it's okay. In my opinion, maybe I'm speaking from the part of being privileged to be young, but like I feel like at your at a certain age, you're just supposed to try things out. You only learn better about yourself as you age. You can't, there are people that come out and they come out like, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a lawyer. Those people are God's favorites. They are chosen. Even as at 18, 17, I didn't know what I wanted to be, and it was fine. So you just figure things out and get comfortable with doing that. My number 1 rule for transitioning is figure out the field you want to transition to. And the first thing I usually do when I try to transition from cloud developer, like cloud engineer, to front-end engineering, was to look at the tech space and people who were already occupying roles that I was aspiring to get to, and kind of get to ask them questions. So that's always what I do. When I was trying to transition to developer advocacy, somebody that helped me a lot was Edith Young. I don't know if she's here, Edith Young Asibo. She had just recently gotten a developer advocacy role, and I was trying to get into that. And so what I did was just go ask her, yo, what did you do to get this role? Like, what was your interview process like? What did you know? What did you have to do? And so she gave me like a lay down of things that she did, how her interview went, and what to expect. And that was what I used and applied to get my new role. So first step, if you're trying to transition, is to network with people that already occupy those roles. So I'm trying to rush because I want people to ask me questions. I didn't want this to be like a presentation. Yeah, so some questions you can ask, like I mentioned, as you're networking, reach out to people that, find them on LinkedIn, on Twitter, people that already have the titles that you're hoping to transition to. Ask them questions about like specific communities or resources that you can join to learn more about the industry. And then ask for advice, if they have any advice for people looking to transition. And then also ask what are some of the things that they know now that they wish they had known, say, few months ago before getting into the field. Because uh, there are things I know now that I would have done differently and would have made my transitioning process to developer advocacy a lot easier. And then ask what kind of education is typically required. And also ask how they landed their current role. So these are the exact steps I take when I want to transition. I reach out to people in those roles and I just ask them questions and ask them to oblige me. And usually they are very helpful. My next step is usually to come up with a learning plan. It's stressful, but I thrive in stress anyway. So hopefully from networking, you get like a part or an idea of what you're supposed to learn, what you're supposed to know to be able to transition. For example, when I was trying to transition from, because I had studied computer engineering in uni, and my university had like a partnership with Huawei. So even while in school, I was learning their cloud tools and all that, and that was how I got a job with them right after school. So when I was trying to transition to front-end engineering, now you might ask me why I transitioned. I don't know. Honestly, I was just trying to find out what people were doing. Most of my friends were coding, and it just looked really interesting, and I just decided to learn. One of the things I learned after talking to most of my friends who were front-end engineers was that there was React and there was Vue. But if you wanted to get a job faster, with the current Nigerian market, it's better to learn React here. So these are things that people tell you. And so instead of me wasting time going to learn Vue, maybe because it was neat or whatever, I just went to learn React because currently there is a huge market for it. So yeah, come up with a learning plan. Don't quit your job or don't quit what you're doing at that point. Okay, sorry. Anyway. So like I mentioned, the next step is to come up with a learning plan. And at this point, you assess yourself and ask yourself, what are the learning gaps that you have? What are the knowledge gaps that you have that you need to fill in on? As a cloud engineer, I already had like basic programming or basic computer science knowledge. And so to, what I needed was just to learn. I did have a little bit of HTML. My biggest challenge was like CSS and JavaScript. And so that was what I needed to learn to transition from cloud to front-end engineering. So you ask, no, not this. Okay, get to work, Lynn. Find out sorry, give me a moment. Okay. Yeah, like I mentioned, trying to learn while you're trying to transition and still holding down a job is difficult. But the way I structure myself, or the way I did it for all my transitions, is to give myself a time frame and tell myself that I'm looking to transition a year from now. So from now till a year, how do I plan myself to learn? It could be 2 hours every day, or 3 hours every day, or two. Are you good? Okay. Okay, it could be 2 3 hours every day, just to make sure that don't try to rush it. Just take it slowly and give yourself a meaningful time frame to transition. And another way to figure out what you need to learn to be able to transition is to look at job listings out there. That's like my favorite thing to do. Go look at, say you're trying to get a front-end developer role, go look at tens or like 20 front-end developer job listings, what's common there, what skills or requirements are all of them asking for, what comes across in all of them, and pick that as a skill, note it down as something you have to learn, and add it to your learning plan. One common misconception that people have is that you must kind of like know everything about a role before making a transition, and that's not always true because these roles you only actually learn when you get into it. Um, okay, and then contribute to projects, and this one is like very, very personal to me because like it's what has helped me get all of my jobs. I do this thing where I build in public. Like I talk about everything I do on Twitter. I write a blog post, it's going on Twitter. I build a widget, it's going on Twitter. The thing is that you don't know who is watching, and you're building a personal brand and a reputation for yourself. And not just that, you're putting yourself out there so that people who are on the same path as you are can find you and connect with you and get to form like a community with you. So a lot of people that I've been able to meet on my journey has been from sharing on what I've been doing, and these people just, yo, I'm doing this thing too. And that's how I form networks, and that's how I've been able to build meaningful networks with people. So build, if there's anything you're doing as part of your learning process, put it out there, talk about it. And there's this imposter syndrome, or like this feeling of there's nothing new I'm doing, and which may be true. But the thing is that what you're doing, nobody else may have done it the way you will do it. Usually, like when I tell people to write and share their articles there, sorry, I have 5 minutes left, and I want people to ask me questions. So if you have questions for me, you're trying to transition, I want to answer your questions. I didn't actually plan to present anything. So I will leave the floor open now. If you have questions, you have questions about your tech career, and you need me to help you figure things out, just the floor is open, please.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so I'll be brief with my question. So one question I wanted to throw in was relating to getting a job in tech. Now, looking at how I've been able to transition into tech for the past like 6 months, um, I've been learning Flutter and Dart, and then it's looking pretty hard because I've been trying to apply for jobs, and then they're always requesting for a year or 2 or 3 years experience when I don't have any experience. Even junior roles, they're requesting for experience. Now the question is, how do I, what kind of jobs do I apply first? If I want to apply for a job, is it a junior role that require experience? How do I get this experience?
So I would
and stuff
I
like
would
that?
say ideally you should be looking at junior roles. But the thing is that just like you said, most people won't employ you without some form of like experience. So it's helpful to try to gain some informal experience. Now, what do I mean by informal experience? What's a problem you see around you? Like real world use case projects. And when I was transitioning into front end, something I did that stood out on my CV was that I built a project. It was like a ride hailing project with three of my friends. And one was a designer, one was a back-end guy, the other one was like a badass database guy. And we just came together and we built that project. It was a personal project, put it in our CVs, and that kind of boosted my job application process and my chances because it was like a real world. It wasn't like these tutorial projects that you see. It was something that we took initiative on and did it. So that's probably something you should try out. Like try to gain some informal experience before applying for a job.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Sorry, one last question.
Sorry, just so it goes around. Can she ask, please? Okay.
Okay. One last question quickly. Okay, some jobs, like I always hear people say, apply, like tailor your CV to that specific job need, right? So sometimes some jobs may require you having some certain skills you should work with SQL, you should have knowledge of HTML, CSS, and I'm a mobile engineer, Flutter. I don't have those experience of those things. So how do I tailor in my CV to each of these, job opportunities?
Um, Usually, one thing that scares people is you don't need to have like 100% of what's listed in a job requirement to apply. But if you find that it's becoming a common occurrence when you're trying to apply for a job and all of them are saying, oh, have SQL knowledge or something, then probably start learning SQL. Yeah. I think, yes.
Uh,
Portfolioing, yeah. So like when you are working on something, it's good to keep a portfolio, like you said, posting it on social medias and stuff. But if you have your portfolio and then, for example, someone like yourself that you said you transited like 4 times, then it would be like you're having something like a jack of all trades, master of none. So how would you separate it and make it look official and formal without having it looking, jumbled up of anything?
Let's see. When I was trying to transition from cloud to front end, I had a front end website, or like what I would call my front end portfolio, where I had like front end projects that I had built and a couple of like front end related articles that I had written. Now, when I was trying to transition from front end to technical writing, I built another portfolio specifically for technical writing, where I had like documentation projects that I had contributed to, open source projects that I was a part of, communities that I'm within, and like my thought process around writing technical articles, if that makes sense. So probably just do something different for it and kind of compartmentalize it.
just one more question, please.
Must I stand up? Okay. I'm not, I don't have an IT background,
Okay.
but from my personal research, I found out that there are a lot of certifications you need to stand out. You should have.
Okay.
And all of them require you pay in dollars. I mean, they are so
Okay.
expensive. From one step to the other, you have to pay. Some of them up to $500,
What,
So
what,
it's so expensive.
what field exactly are you trying to transition into? Is it like cybersecurity or
Yeah, I
like?
like cyber security, but there are a lot of steps before you get there, like 2 steps.
Honestly, okay, I don't
Maybe
know much.
networking, you have to know some
Okay,
Linux, you have to
network
prove.
and then routing and switching.
Yeah, that's all networking. Maybe you should prove you are good in Linux, maybe
But
networking.
I think you can start with one certification
Yeah.
though, yeah?
So what I mean is,
It's expensive, is that what you're trying to say?
Yes. Some you have to write 2 papers, each. Them you pay.
I can't offer advice on that.
I
But
know.
one thing
But
I know is that,
I'm just trying to put it across. That's
I-
one of the challenges for.
yeah. Thank you.